Phil Rucker, we started with a Scorsese reference. It's time to transition to a Coppola. What happens when the president goes to the mattresses? What does this campaign look like if he is without his ace? The most effective tool in his toolbox is to run on a vibrant and humming economy. What will that campaign look like?
You know, Brian, even when the economy was vibrant and humming, we assumed that this was going to be the ugliest campaign in recent times. And that's because President Trump signaled as much. But now with the economy in free fall and him not able to run on the strength of the economy, I think it's going to get even uglier, because what Trump has to do now, what he's planning to do, what his strategists are telling us they're working on is to really destroy Joe Biden, to run a campaign of character assassination against the former vice president and disqualify Biden in the minds of so many of these voters so that people will vote for Trump. The polling that we have seen month after month through this pandemic has been very bad for Trump. People do not approve of his job performance in this crisis. They do not approve of his leadership, of his character, of his compassion and empathy. And so in order to win, Trump's going to have to tear down Biden. And we already see his campaign operatives beginning to lay plans to do so.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.